Uy, kuya, nakalimutan mong birthday ni mama ngayon, no?
Walang problema. Magpapadala na lang ako sa World Remit. 1, 2, 3. Oh. Oh, ha? Ay, lagot. Si mama tumatawag. Happy birthday, ma!
Salamat anak, natanggap ko na ang padala mong pera from World Remit. Akala ko nakalimutan mo na eh.
Siyempre, ma. Ako pa.
Hi guys, welcome to Pusong Pinoy. Pusong Pinoy with Malcolm Conlan. It's a real pleasure to be back with you again, and I'm really excited to be able to still do this show. You know, I'm very, very grateful to World Remit for sponsoring the show. You know, if you wanted to send money back home to the Philippines, it's quick and convenient with World Remit. You simply download their app, which is on Google Play and of course the Apple Store, and you know, you can send money very easily to the Philippines. You know, I know that sending money back home is something that's very important for Filipinos around the world, and of course World Remit gives you the ability to do that quickly and easily. So this show is really about an amazing individual. You know, I really have seen the story of Cesar online, and I really have been inspired by what he's gone through and by his message and his advocacy. And of course, he wants to tell other people now about COVID-19 and of course the effects that it can have. You know, I find him very inspiring and one of our true heroes of the NHS. And without much further ado, I'd like to say hello to Cesar. Hi, are you there?
Sir, good afternoon. Good afternoon to each and everyone, and to the Pusong Pinoy fans. I hope I could share some stories that will enlighten us regards with COVID-19.
Thank you so much. You know, it'd be nice to get a little bit of a history as when you came over to the UK, whereabouts you're from in the Philippines, and your story would be very helpful to get people to know a little bit more about you.
Thank you very much, sir. To start it all, I came to from the Philippines in Zambales. I had a chance to teach primary school, and I was a teacher for 5 years. And by that time, I'm also doing as a part-time job as a freelance photojournalist. And also, that time I also was part of the division for selecting Taekwondo players for the national events, sporting events. Those are the things that I was so busy at. Then my wife decided that I have to go here now. So when I came here in 2004, I managed to work in many places, from IT technician assistant to maintenance gardener. Then I stopped in NHS in 2005. Then I went going around until 2009 when I started became a CSW, clinical support worker. And luckily until now, before the COVID happened, I still do a bit of photography. I share some uh, ideas about photography. I go around in some parts of UK to share my knowledge in photography, the basic ones. And I
That's
also and also do martial arts. So since I was a young kid, I've been doing it. That guy, the other guys there that you see are the most well-known professional photographers back home in the Philippines.
Wow, you know, you've got an inspiring story, but the thing is, you know, you are a very fit person. That's the point, isn't it? Through your karate, you're always keeping yourself fit. You're obviously really kind of working very, very hard, obviously, to support your family, but also you've been very dedicated to the NHS for a very long period of time. What can you say about our NHS generally before we get on to specifics? Obviously, they don't have an NHS in the Philippines.
Yes, sir.
And I know they have got the universal healthcare bill now, and I know they're trying their very best. But what can you say about the NHS here in the UK, having worked for the NHS?
I'm very fortunate that I had experience to work in NHS. In the care that NHS, it's not just being biased because I work in NHS, but it's not any time you could see or encounter this kind of care that we have. Because back home, although like you said, they already have a bill of rights for it, but back then, way back 10 years ago, until now, because my dad got sick and went to the hospital. There are still a few hospitals that even for asking pillowcases, you have to pay 500 pesos, and you have to pay every time you request. So I'm quite happy to say that we in United Kingdom are very much luckier from other countries, whether they're from the third world country or superpower. I might say we are quite lucky that we have NHS. Although we pay for it, but the benefit of having the care instantly, sometimes it takes a while, sometimes you are in a queue, but at the end of the day, you will have the care that you are needed to have one.
This is the point, isn't it? You know, we all pay our taxes, so we are paying for the care. But the thing is, we're not having to pay for it at source. If we become sick, we're not having to suddenly give over, I don't know, £1,000 or something like that. As you say, even superpowers. You know, I don't want to be critical of other countries or talk about their health service, but I know people in America who've become bankrupt because they've needed a simple operation, and you know they can't afford to access healthcare. You know, when I went back home to the Philippines, probably about 20 years ago, I was told that there was a young boy in our barangay who passed away because he couldn't afford to see a doctor. And, you know, that's shocking. That's really, really sad. You know, we're in the 21st century. And I know there have been some improvements. And we were talking before we went on air about the deposit system. So when you go into a hospital, you used to have to pay a deposit, and they wouldn't allow you in that hospital until you've paid a deposit. Now, I understand now that that's stopped. If you need emergency treatment, you should be able to get an emergency treatment without needing a deposit. But suddenly there are sometimes there are still hospitals where these practices still happen and where there are still issues. So you know it's hard. You know it's a difficult situation that they're in back home in the Philippines. But my thoughts, my prayers goes to everybody there, and I know there are improvements all the time. You know, now you've worked here in the NHS. Would you now go back to work in the Philippines in the healthcare industry?
At the situation that they have right now, to be fair, I don't know what's going on right now, but obviously you could see the news, the disadvantages of having trouble like having COVID. Chances are you will suffer a lot compared here. So maybe when I think I'm safe with a more proper decent hospital, because I don't know now, but 10 to 15 years ago, I could remember if I could share a story of my uncle. He's from the States, and because he had an stroke or a heart attack that time, we had to run him in a public hospital. And nobody was looking after him. I was doing the CPR, and they were looking at me. And the moment his children start speaking fluent English, American English, now that's the time they suddenly run there, put some oxygen and everything. Suddenly they heard that he speaks English, so he got money. Wait, that was way back 15 years ago. So I don't know now, sir. Maybe it's much better now. To
But
be
it's
fair
still
with the
very
proper-
sad that people still need to make a decision on whether they can afford to pay for intensive
That's
care
correct.
or whether they can't. But of course, there is the Phil Health, and there are many government schemes. I think it's about giving that information, isn't it? I think it's about education, and I think
true.
it's good what you're doing as well. You know, people need to know that there is help there. If they ask for the help is available. But it's about that education. So people who maybe want to retire back in the home in the Philippines, when they retire, they know what the options are. So anyway, let's focus on you and your situation. You were when you were working in the healthcare industry as in the NHS, but when the COVID started,
Yes, sir.
what happened?
What happened was first is my wife. She had a signs and symptoms of it. For 2 weeks, we got isolated at the home. And fortunately, she survived without going to the hospital. Then I was working, I think I already finished working, looking after patients with suspected and a positive one. So that time, um, due to our duties, we have to do our job. And it's not like we could choose. Because at the end of the day, like everybody say, you work in the hospital, so you know the risk, the danger of you will have or encounter. Only thing is, um, I was just the lucky person who went to ICU. But after me, 2 weeks later, I had a few friends that also work in my place who look after the same patient, went to isolation for 14 days. Two nurses and two CSWs, I think, due to that patient. So I'm pretty sure it was that patient I went to ICU and got the COVID.
What can you say about things like PPE? Because I know going back a couple of months ago, there was a lot of discussions on what was suitable PPE, if you needed, the special masks, etc., and the levels of PPE. What is your sort of opinion on that? And I know you're obviously thankful to your trust. Don't get me wrong. I'm talking about generally, not
Yes,
necessarily
sir.
in your hospital.
Uh,
Generally, PPE.
Basically, at first hit of COVID here in UK, everybody was maybe blank on how it's gonna hit us. We don't know yet what's gonna happen. Then it started to, it's like a storm. It started to get worse and worse. So in some situation, because we all that patient was in the side room, sir. So we wear the basic mask and the basic gown. But I remember the last part of that day, we already wear the proper shield in looking after that patient. But maybe because he was in the side room and everything was there, and obviously when they cough or spit, what happen is you will absorb everything whether you have a shield. But well, at the end of the day, maybe UK was really at that time in the middle of that process. They were trying their best to find ways to prevent it, but due to the situation, maybe the weather, because I remember the consultant told me before I left ICU that it will be a seasonal kind of problem everywhere, that every country that has a cold weather for 2 to 3 months in a year or 6 months in a year. So it's like a normal thing that will happen to us. So hopefully it will not hopefully happen, but apparently it's going to be like that now, starting next year or this year, coming December, because you could see on the news they said they're now preparing for the second wave. And I was even told I was not even safe because they say my immunity to the virus is only for 6 months. Then I saw a news about 2 3 days ago. I don't know if you heard watch it back home, that one doctor, Filipina doctor, went home. 2 days later, she came back with the same problem, COVID-19 again. So they were told, she was told, the doctor was told she already had the immunity. So whether it's funny for me or paranoia on my part, I go outside with a mask and a shield now because of what happened to me. I was talking to my wife. I said, you cannot blame me now because of what happened, because all the sacrifice we had for 2 months. I don't want to go back there on that situation. But given the learning experience, understanding what a patient feels like, I'll never say that if given the chance to come back again and have the same problem again, I would be happy to do it again, because working as a medical field, we sometimes our patient goes down to smaller patients because of patients with complaints and everything. But understanding it by becoming a patient is much better, Don't want everybody, every medical staff gets sick and in a situation that they don't like. But on my part, my experience, I learned that deeper, I understand how a patient have this depression, this pain, this understanding that if nobody understand them, how could they express themselves? Which is really, I'm sad and thankful to what happened to me because without this, I might not be more confident to look after my patient in the future because when I was scared staff before, I tried to understand them the best I could, but because of their own pain that they can only feel their pain, it's easy for us medical staff would say, oh yeah, I understand your pain, but in all honesty, we try to make them happy and be relaxed, even we don't understand how painful they are. But now that I experience it, well experienced with the situation, although I slept for 2 months, when I woke up, I felt the pain, I felt the depression, the loss of what's going to happen to me in the future, the situation that I almost did a suicidal on my part. Now I understand how it is, how important the support group, the family, the community medical team, the ICU team, even maybe not just even the Gillingham Filipino Medway community, even family support from everywhere has really helped a lot in coping. It's hard. Like I said, given the chance to go back, maybe I'll accept it again, have the COVID again, and because the more I experience it, the more I understand my patient now. I'm not saying I'll be the best of the best, but at least I can, if they say I'm in pain, you don't understand. I said I do understand your pain. I'm depressed, you don't understand. I do understand your depression. You're being
I,
left out. Those kind
I
of
think
things.
you'll be a fantastic educator. You know, you really are a flag bearer for the Philippines as well, and for the
I wish I
sacrifice
could,
of
sir.
Filipino nurses and the dedication of Filipino nurses. You know, there's so many people who don't appreciate the NHS. I hear so many sad stories of people
I know.
even swearing at and being rude to NHS staff. And I'm very sad to say this, but here in the UK, I've also heard people who say, oh, we don't need foreigners, we don't need immigrants. I'm sorry to say, but without our immigrant workforce, without our own Filipino nurses, nurses from India or whatever country they may be from, our NHS could not survive.
Thank
And
you.
people need to
That's quite
understand
true.
that. You know,
Yeah, it's like I always tell to the patient when they started. Sometimes I don't accept it as a rude thing anymore because of their depression of going home. If they become a bit irritable, we try to make them happy. I have this partner in my job. He's an Italian guy. His name is Antonio. We try our best. There was it made me really happy because a friend of mine, his name is Ben Taylor and Sensei Colin, both in my martial arts club, raised a Go fundraising campaign. And one who shared in that Go fundraising campaign was a daughter or a son of my former patient in stroke department in Harvey Ward. And he was saying to me that basically it was written on the GoFund, so I'm quite happy. She was saying, or he was saying that we remember you, Cesar and Antonio, how you made my dad so comfortably happy while he was there. And now it's our turn to pray for you and try our best to help you and your family. And I was like, I did something right while I was doing my job and making somebody happy. And I might not be the best in being a CSW, but I think I tried my best to be with them when they were sad.
I
It's
think
not all,
people.
yeah, it's not all, sir. The medical, I know the nurses are so busy. That's why we're there. And our job is to compensate whatever they need, or we could try to help them the best we can.
Having worked for an ambulance service myself for 6 years, I'm not in the ambulance service anymore. I've gone into many different hospitals, many different healthcare
That's more
settings.
experience, sir.
Well, I get to see a lot. I go into the heart hospitals, I go into the intensive cares around the country, and I've seen it's a big team, and people sometimes don't appreciate that. Even a hospital cleaner, if the within COVID-19, if the hospital isn't cleaned properly, if the COVID isn't eliminated from a room, somebody else is going to catch the COVID. And the work that you do is so important as well, because of course, if you're a very, very busy doctor, maybe you don't have time to feed the patient, and it's only by feeding the patient or by washing the patient that you can maybe pick up on certain signs or certain smells or whatever it may be. And your input is so valuable. And as you say, the nurses are very busy. They've got the drugs to do. They've also got the paperwork, the administration, all of the reports they need to write. So I hate people who say, oh, they're just this or they're just a cleaner, because every single job is a very, very important job. And the NHS is one big team, one big family. And I'm sure through how you were looked after during what happened to you, you're the first person to say that it is a big team, be it psychotherapists, be it physios, be it healthcare workers, be it cleaners, whatever it may be. It is a big team that's got you back to life.
That's true, sir. Like, for example, the kitchen people, they were making sure that I finished my meal, making sure every patient got the proper meal. It's not easy job, because especially them, they're more prone to COVID because they're not really like us are prepared. They might have the mask, they might have everything, but at the end of the day, they're still in danger of having COVID or any kind of virus, because they're trying their best to make the meal of the patient be better. And make sure every patient, because I could remember when I was in ICU in Macalap ward, they made sure that, oh, have you finished your meal? Try eating the best you can. I'll go back in a few minutes. They're not gonna rush you. Oh, it's almost meal, or meal time is over, I need your plate. Nothing like that, because they know by their own way they could help a patient go better.
Completely. I've been in hospital twice within the last year. I had only some hernia operations. It was standard surgery, but I got sepsis, and I was in hospital for about 9 days. And even the lady, I used to look forward to the lady who used to bring round the tea or the coffee and the tea trolley, and she's asking if I want another drink, if I want a piece of cake, and I need to drink this, or you're not allowed to eat today. And then she would make sure if I wasn't allowed to eat, she wouldn't show me the food, so she'd make sure the curtain was drawn. All these little things are so important. They really, really are. If it's okay with you, what I'd like to do now is just take a short break. This is a very fascinating and interesting discussion, and I really would like to understand more about your situation, exactly what happened to you. But until we come back, thanks so much for watching Pusong Pinoy, and we'll see you when we get back.
Uy, kuya, nakalimutan mong birthday ni mama ngayon, no?
Walang problema. Magpapadala na lang ako sa World Remit. 1, 2, 3. Oh, ha? Ay, lagot. Si mama tumatawag. Happy birthday, ma!
Salamat anak, natanggap ko na ang padala mong pera from World Remit. Akala ko nakalimutan mo na eh.
Siyempre, ma. Ako pa.
Hi, we're Fourth Impact, and hello to all the viewers of Pusong Pinoy with Malcolm Conlan.
Thank you for always supporting Fourth Impact, and please, you can download our new song, No More.
And all digital platforms.
Yes, and you can follow us on all our social media accounts. Just type Fourth Impact, and everything is verified. So,
Thank you. God bless everyone. Keep safe.
Hi, my name's Jane Walker. I'm the founder and the CEO of the Purple Community Fund. We work with some of the poorest children and families in the Philippines. We run an integrated service plan from education, health, nutrition, social intervention, livelihood workshops, right the way through to business startups. And our goal is really to see as many Filipino families as we possibly can help to have a better and more sustainable and safe life. I have this great pleasure of welcoming you to Pusong Pinoy with Malcolm Conlan. And I've known Malcolm for a very long time, and he has been a massive supporter of the Purple Community Fund. In fact, Malcolm's been a massive supporter of pretty much everything Filipino. His drive, his passion and his energy is just absolutely admirable. He is a voice for the Filipino community in Britain. He supports all up-and-coming bands and charities that are doing work in the Philippines, and I know you are going to really enjoy this show.
Thank you so much again for watching Pusong Pinoy. You know, it is a real honor and a privilege for me to be able to continue speaking to our next guest. He has such an inspiring story, and you know, I'm deeply touched by his attitude, in that he said he wouldn't even mind going through COVID-19 again if it could help to make him a person who understands what patients go through. He has an incredible attitude, and he is a real credit to the NHS. But not only that, he's also a real credit to the Philippines and to the Filipino people. And I'm really deeply honored to be able to interview him. So Cesar, go ahead and tell us a little bit more about your story. How did you first discover that you had COVID-19? What happened? Did you go to hospital? What was the story?
Sir, what happened was after 2 weeks of isolation with my wife, maybe 3 days after, I got the signs and symptoms. I started coughing. The night after, I had hallucination that people were coming to my house, which I don't recognize. Then the whole night I didn't wait, I didn't sleep. Then the next day I lost appetite in the morning, so my wife was very concerned. She said to me that we need to call the ambulance, and apparently uh, it took us a bit of a while because it was already the start of COVID and a lot of patients already there. The only thing I could remember was when I didn't say had a proper goodbye to my kids and my wife. I was wearing already an oxygen. My SATS was 82 already, which is basically you need to be at least 96 or 97. Excuse me. And then the only thing I remember, I was in A&E. One Filipino nurse was taking my bloods. And I didn't even remember I was transferred to HDU. Then the only thing I remember in HDU was they were saying they're gonna intubate me, and I said, "Can I talk to my wife first and kindly tell her?" And the next thing I know, my wife said she said goodbye to me. She was given a chance to see me. I think because she also works in the hospital, she's properly trained to use PPE. So she was given a go signal for just for that day before I have my intubation. And after that, we rely on Skype to the iPad and to the phone of the hospital in ICU. After that, the only time I remember was I thought I was only 2 days at the hospital or 3 days because I said to my daughter, I'll come back and I'll be back home because it's only a 14 days rest. I even joked to my wife, I'll just sleep for that 2 weeks and rest because I've been doing night shift for 9 years. So I'll just sleep there and enjoy my stay. I never realized that it was already 2 months. And my life was continuously moving. I was induced over comatose, but my brain was working as if it's a normal day. until I started dreaming of bad things, hallucinating because of the chemicals affected by the medicines that I took. It was a 24-hour run of different types to save me. And true enough that I was really fortunate that NHS never gave up. The ICU department, the consultant, the doctors, the theater department, which now I come to meet most of them now, hear stories, new stories that I never knew that it happened while I was there. And there's no way I could, uh, no way that I will have the enough to say thank you to them because of what they did. It might be nothing to some, or maybe nothing to most of the people, but what I've learned here is that just rely on NHS and believe that they will never let go of you. And obviously the community of the Filipino in Gillingham, who never gave up praying for me, looking after my children, my wife. I had a meeting last Monday at the consultant, and they're quite happy that now I could walk a few minutes. I still struggle breathing. I could drive short distance nowadays, but because they don't have the test results for the next one of the changes, I was told that in 4 months' time they're gonna do the test again, the CT, the lung capacity test, everything. So I'm hoping by that time at least I have a 90% chance of having a proper lungs again, because at the moment I have a lungs of a chain smoker. I only have a 25 to 30% of lungs working at the moment. So there's miracle. I believe in the miracle of God. Some people, I don't debate no more if they don't believe in the religion. I still thank them because even though they didn't pray for me, at least they had their thoughts on me. They have their different explanations because I thought I was physically fit. Wasn't that physically fit because I'm also overweight. But I did a lot of things to make myself healthy, and it shocked me when it hit me because I only said it's only a cough, but I didn't know it was life threatening, and it gave so much pain to my family, especially to my wife. She's so strong woman, and I'm very thankful. Uh, Nowadays we could laugh about it, and nowadays we could joke about it. That it's to what you say in the wedding vows, to thickness and in health, to richer and poorer. I tested it, and I'm so much happy that she never let go. My eldest never let go. I wanted to share this story of mine to people understand how bad COVID is, because whether you're young, you're old, if we never look after ourselves or overdo ourselves, it would nowadays my result I got low immunity because of COVID, and it breaks my heart. I had desperations of it. I had to take a lot of medicine because of it. I even is being treated for heart failure as precaution because it affected my heart too. But in the end, I will still do my job given the opportunity. I will still enjoy doing martial arts with my kids. And I was given a go signal to come back slowly to martial arts, which is really grateful for me. And given the opportunity, I'll still do photography. And given the opportunity like your show to be interviewed and share my story, I'm very thankful that there are people who are like you, sir, that is very open to everybody to share lessons that we've learned, experiences that we had with regards to COVID. The only thing that I remember when I was in COVID was is May 15, the day I woke up. Like I said in the past, somebody was pulling my leg in my dream, and I was really in pain. So I said to God, I'm a Roman Catholic, so I was brought and born as a Roman Catholic. So I said I was almost giving up, but because of what I believe on Him, my faith with Him, I said, I think that's the first time I called God. For that 2 months, I said, I'm giving you my body now to uh, medically help me and make sure that I'm okay. Then somebody was grabbing my leg down. Then I woke up, opened my eyes. I was crying because I thought at first I had a stroke because the eyes is only the one moving, nothing else. So I cannot even talk. My right hand was shaking like this. They gave me a pen to write. The only thing I could write was stroke and a question mark. And they said, no, you didn't have a stroke. You had COVID-19. And I just closed my eyes and started to cry because I never realized I was in ICU. And everything was, for me, was so fast. Everything was happening. People are coming. They were clapping. Doctors were saying, call his wife. He's awake now. And it is a scary experience. But at the end of the day, I could always say that it's a good and a bad thing that it happened to me. When I came home, I was so happy and sad at the same time because I'm happy I'm gonna fulfill the promise I said to my daughter and my wife that I'll be back home. And I'm scared that what will happen to me now as a father, as a husband. What will I do? Can I be still an able person to help them financially, emotionally? At one point, 3 days after being home, I saw a bleach. I was in the toilet because my wife was helping me to have a wash. Somebody was whispering me, drink it because I'm useless, I'm disabled. Uh, After 3 days, I cannot manage to get that out of myself. So when I saw my wife, I hugged her so tight and I said, something is whispering me to do this. And she said to me, do I need to keep the bleach? I said, no, I might end up looking for it. So leave it there and I'll try to control myself. Just that one point, I was so desperate that I felt I was really useless in life. So after telling that to my wife, expressing it, because my dad is a military man, we were taught only two reasons to cry. One is to cry when you're dying, and the other one when you cry when you're so much in pain. So I grew up not crying. So at the end, I have to accept that I have to cry and express myself. Otherwise, it will affect my heart and I'll get more depressed. So I'm very thankful the support group of my wife, my kids, showing everything. The NHS was really so supportive from the PSHO to the housekeeping to the kitchen. They made sure that what I, with all honesty, when they keep saying to me, like you just told me a while ago before we started, sir, that you've been through so much and everything, I was like, what happened to me? I keep saying that to myself when I was in ICU. When I came home, my wife was saying, I could only remember the voice of people in my dreams saying to fight it. And on my dreams, I even thought I was fighting somebody in a competition that I would do this. Every time I hear that, you fight, Cesar, it's not your time, I would do this. And I start thinking, why am I fighting? Who am I fighting? I was like this, but I never know I was fighting for my life. And
You
the
have
day
the
that
most you have the most incredible story. You know, it's touched my heart. You know, you talk about not crying, but you've made me almost cry. You know, you're very brave and you're very inspirational, and you've made a very good point in sickness and in health. You know, when I had this hernia previously, I spent 9 days in hospital, and during the time we were moving house, and you know, we were just having a repair on our house. And in fact, it was one particular day where my wife was able to do all the furniture removal, putting things in boxes like televisions with my daughter, transferring things to a removal van, completely doing the whole home removal while I was still lying in my bed. And it just shows you the strength of families, but also in particular, I believe the Filipino people are very strong and very resourceful. And, you know, whatever happens, they will fight. And also, of course, you have the Bayanihan spirit as well,
Yes,
in that
sir.
everyone would pull together. And clearly, as you've said, as a community, everyone's pulled together to help you. So would you like to say anything again to your community and everybody involved for their support?
Yes. I would like to thank you for the opportunity, sir. I would like to thank the Filipino community of Gillingham Medway. All the help they did, the groceries, the financial help that they gave to my wife and my kids, my martial arts friends, Ben Taylor, Sensei Colin of the GKR who helped raise the Go fundraising. And the patients that I forgot already, whoever they are, I'm very thankful. The Bushinateke Karate Club, Sensei Peter Larson, who never stopped trying to their best to help me recover, visited me without worrying that I have COVID in my home, and the Filipino nurses who looked after me, the ICU staff who one time said to me that because of me, of what happened to me, they start believing in God again, they start praying again. To me, I think one part of my job, being alive again, I think I did one. I said to my wife that I'm very thankful to ICU Medway NHS, maybe the whole NHS, housekeeping, the kitchen, the physiotherapy, especially that gave the patients, even though sometimes I give up of walking, they would be there and push me. My wife obviously is the my willpower, my kids who gave everything to me, my friends, Filipino friends, my mom and dad who prayed a lot. And surprisingly, I've been prayed by a lot of religion, from the Muslim community to the born again, to the Christian, to the Buddhist. Everybody I could remember that given the chance prayed for me, from the US to Africa to the Philippines to Vietnam. Uh, they all gave the prayers and never gave up. I'm so thankful to you, sir, to all the people who tried to interview me to share my story. Also, is a big thank you to all of you, because without you, I can never reach. Because I don't know whether this is my advocacy, but after being alive again, I don't know where to start to share my story. But because of you, because of a lot of people willing to share my story, I'm very thankful. Uh, Thank you to all those who are happy to hear my stories. You don't have to be a COVID patient to help. You don't have to be COVID patient to be called a hero. You only need to be a person and do your very best while you're alive. That's what I learned, sir. At
I
the end
think
of the day, there is no best, there is no very best, but only being humble at the end of the day, sir.
I think that's the point, isn't it? That we're a very big team, and we're the bigger society, isn't it? We can all do our bit, whether it's maybe in sending somebody some encouraging words via Facebook, whether it's praying for somebody. As you say, there are many different religions who've been praying for you. I feel the same as you. You know, I respect all religions. Everybody prays in their own way, but everyone's talking to God, whether they be Muslim, whether they be Christian or Catholic or Pentecostal or whatever it may be. They're all praying to God, and I do believe there is power in prayer. You know, I'm not going to start preaching, and I wouldn't do that even on my Facebook. But I have to say, you know, there is something to say about all praying together, or even believing. As you say, some people don't pray, and I respect their beliefs as well. But I think if you all fight for the same cause, if you all support the same cause, I think there can be a miracle. Now, people would argue it's got nothing to do with God, maybe science, that's fine. But the fact is, you know, I think the power in that unity, the power in working together, the power in believing, I think can do something. It can really make a difference. And I'm a real strong advocate of that. And I'm sure you would say the same thing.
It's true, sir, because when on Monday I was told by the consultant that the amount of medicine I took while I was sleeping was really incredible. I survived. He being a doctor in the science field, they believe it's because of the build that I had in the preparation from all the activities I did in martial arts that survived me. I respect that part. I never debate about it that it's because of the miracle of God. It's the way that they did their best and they're very proud of what they did, and I'm very thankful for that. At one point, I it was a tears of joy. I said thank you to all of them, especially the consultant, that he never gave up and insisted that we will give you all the medicine, the care that we can until the very last breath of mine. And they're so very, very, very proud that they did something really well. To think that I'm just an ordinary person, I'm not even a VIP, but the way they were so happy to see me now walking, driving, and everything, it was their pride and joy at the same time, I might say.
Can I just make one point?
Yes,
You
sir.
say you're not a VIP, but to me, you are a true hero. Your sacrifice, your
Thank you
fighting,
so much for that.
your work that you've done in the NHS, your understanding, I think is very important. And I'd like to say that to all Filipino nurses. We owe our lives to you. The same in every nurse and everyone in the NHS, but particularly, as you know, I have a passion for the Philippines.
I
And
know we were lucky to have you, sir.
yeah, well,
We are so
I
lucky.
think it's a massive, big society. It's a big team that we have. But I think people have to understand that there are over 7,000 Filipino nurses within the NHS. I believe they're the second biggest demographic of any nationality, and some people say, oh, I don't like Filipino nurses, or they'd make a story or something. But as I've said before, if you're lying in a bed in intensive care, I'm 100% sure that it will be a Filipino nurse, or at least a Filipino nurse will be in that ward or in that area, or a manager who'll be taking care of you. And for those people who do think, oh, it's Asians and COVID-19's been brought about by Asians or Chinese, you have to understand that you have fantastic Chinese doctors. It's not about race. The fact is, COVID-19 is a disease. It's not about a particular race, and I get very angry. I've heard some stories of some Filipina who was in Brighton, and she's a nurse, and she was nearly pushed down the escalator. I hear a story of a Filipino outside a central London hospital who was kicked in the stomach. I've heard the most terrible stories of racism, and people need to understand that the NHS is built up of every single nationality, every single background, every single demographic, every single orientation. It's one big society that's there to help the people, and the people who aren't grateful, I have no time for them. I'm sorry to say that, but
I understand, sir. Also, to be fair, those who looked after me and I see are both combination of different races, British, Filipinos, Africans. They all did their very best without thinking what my
it's
color
not about
is.
race, is it? It's about a big
It's
team,
not
a big,
about it's
and it's a multi-skilled team, isn't it? And that's the thing. And it does really sadden me that there is, unfortunately, race still comes into it, and people talk about race. Yes, there is an argument to say that Filipinos maybe have a higher incidence of catching COVID-19 and everything else, but I think that is a point to keep in mind. What I really would like to say, thank you very much. I'm very grateful, and please extend my best wishes to your family,
Same with your family,
to everyone of your community. The trust who looked after you, and everyone in your hospital. Please send them my very best wishes. We'd like to read out a few comments now, if that's okay. So we have a comment from Art Della Rosa Jr. Miss you, bro.
That's my
We have a comment from Artemio Dote Manco, and you'll have to read this one for me.
Oh, yeah, it's senpai. We hope and pray that you'll be fine and was be recovered and will recover. Yes, sir. He's a friend of mine, an instructor in martial arts.
And Ligea de la Rosa said, God is good, Cesar. God is God, Cesar, Maya de Velasco. And I noticed in the break you were messaging some of these people, and Leo Sandoval watching from Castilojos. Is that where you're from?
Yes, sir. In Zambales, Philippines.
Ah, Zambales, yeah. And you'll have to read that one. I can't quite get that one.
What was it's a miracle. Thanks God that hopefully you'll continue to recover and rest for a while, my dear son. It's my auntie.
Oh, how lovely. Oh, how lovely. Well, I'd like to thank everyone watching. I'd like to thank everyone who's really taken time. And I'd like to thank you for your advocacy. I'd like to thank you for the time you've taken with us. I really do appreciate it. I hope this can be of benefit to others out there who are concerned about COVID-19. And those people say COVID-19 doesn't exist. It's just a conspiracy theory. Well, Cesar spent more than 50 days intubated in intensive care. On propofol and many different medicines, and has been in a coma for that time. And that wasn't down to a cough or a common cold or anything like that. That was down to COVID-19. And he's very, very grateful for the help that he's been given by the NHS. But people don't ever underestimate COVID-19 and the effects of it. I'd just like to say thank you so much to everybody for watching. I'd like to say thank you very much to our sponsors, World Remit. To send money to the Philippines, it's a very quick and easy process. Just download the app on Google Play or the Apple Store, and you can send money within 3 clicks. And they're doing a promotion right now for the first 3 transactions that you make through World Remit. If you enter the code 3, as in the number 3, and then the letters free, F-R-E-E, your first 3 transactions will be free as well. So that's a great opportunity. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Thank you to everyone in my team. Maraming salamat po. Mabuhay Pilipinas.
Uy, kuya, nakalimutan mong birthday ni mama ngayon, no?
Walang problema. Magpapadala na lang ako sa World Remit. 1, 2, 3. Oh, ha? Ay, lagot. Si mama tumatawag. Happy birthday, ma!
Salamat anak, natanggap ko na ang padala mong pera from World Remit. Akala ko nakalimutan mo na eh.
Siyempre, ma. Ako pa.